Welcome to another episode of Industry Insiders, where I bring to you the baddest motherfuckers on the damn planet. Today, we have my insurance agent, longtime friend, Chris Pennock.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Patrick, and appreciate the intro.
I met Chris when I was looking for some insurance quotes on some development projects I was currently involved in.
Yep.
And I met probably 5 or 6 insurance agents, and all of them were exactly the same. You just looked at them, and you could tell they weren't a person that you'd want to shake hands, let alone give any money to and trust that they'll help you out on the back end. Chris still has my back to this day.
Yep.
Not only talks the talk, but he's proven his walk. Definitely.
The big thing with Patrick is that I knew I had somebody who had integrity and also somebody that appreciated what I do, which is I look at everything from the start to the finish and everything in between. I just do an audit trail of what's happening, what's the exposures surrounding what's happening, and then make an assessment and bring it up to them and say, this is what I see. We talk about it. If there's things that they see that I didn't see, we add that into it. Then I devise the program that will protect them from not only themselves, but also from the attorneys that would like to get a piece of their pie. And that's really what I do.
When you create a relationship, somebody that you trust in this industry, and they're working for you and with you to keep you safe and secure, you end up creating a relationship that's long lasting. And that's where Chris and I, that's where we have honed our skill. Not only is we started in business together, that's him being somebody that, was quoting me insurance, we're now great friends. Like Chris gives everyone his cell phone number. He wants to be the first one to respond to any claims, any issues, or help quote any jobs.
You need to be able to have somebody who can go through what those inherent risks are and figure out how to protect the individual. And what you find in a lot of the insurance agencies is they're all into artificial intelligence and all of this stuff over the phone and over the internet. And what's happening in the industry is that they're pushing the risk management onto the individual. And AI is great for perfect people. I don't know any perfect people. If you do, then go send them to AI. But if you need personalized service and understanding of what you're doing and what you're taking on, then that's where I come in and give a real value add. And in the cannabis industry, it even goes further because what's happening is it's a new industry. The insurance industry is very slow to react or move to anything that's new. And that can work to your benefit and it can work to your detriment. What's happening is they're putting a lot of exclusions on policies. So you get $1 million coverage, and it says this is what's covered, and that takes about 4 paragraphs. And then the next 162 pages is what's not covered and what they won't cover and definitions of coverages. And I'm sure that each and every cannabis person got into the business so they could read insurance policies. I actually do read them and know what they say. And each one has, specific issues for specific types of cannabis industry. And what's true today in the cannabis industry from an insurance standpoint may not be true tomorrow. It may change, and it can change in very minute ways that I actually read and make sure that the coverage is right for the client that I have. And that's what really sets me apart.
Why did you get into cannabis? Why do you care?
The cannabis people and the people coming into the industry are people that have been underground for a while and now they're coming into the mainstream and have no idea what they're looking into from a risk management standpoint. And I'm really good at that, so I knew I'd have a niche right off the bat. Cannabis is a real good alternative to what's happening in the drug industry, which is getting people addicted and having them in really poor positions where cannabis could take that and be an excellent alternative. Even my mom, at 91, I had her use it for some back pain and some pre-surgery issues that she had, and she's doing fine.
How does cannabis insurance differ from other insurance, building, other stuff that you do?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, it's the clientele. The clientele's lack of knowledge and educating the clientele on the business aspects of what they're getting into is different. Usually a builder's already got a lot of experience in that aspect of things, whereas the cannabis person has no idea that there's attorneys out there looking to make money off of their product. So educating cannabis clientele is probably the biggest focus of my business.
Why is it important to have a personal relationship with your client, and why would you give out your cell phone number?
1-800, I've got a claim, doesn't work real well. And you're a perfect example. You call me up, say, hey, I just got robbed, and you give me the details and how is this going to, be handled by my insurance before you call in a claim. And we talk about the situation and how to word it in a way that will actually, generate coverage and not, do you damage. Having somebody to talk to that can actually, you can run stuff off of and say, hey, if I did this, what would be the effects of that? I can look at it from the business aspect and the insurance aspect and then blend the two. And I think I do that very well.
Whenever I'm forgetting and not thinking about additional coverage as my corporations, which are many, are building and growing, he calls me up and says, hey, did you think about this? We need to cover you on there. And that right there is such a value add for me, because there's so many things that are left unopened for me to lose everything over by not being covered.
Right.
So that is an important factor to have somebody, that you could trust as an insurance agent. The reason that Chris is so important to me and my businesses is that it's been tried and true. Like, these things have happened to me. It's not what's going to happen, it's happened. In every scenario, my contracts with insurance companies that he facilitated benefited me, not the insurance company. And that is a win-win when we're talking about, businesses that you've put your whole life and everything into. Like, security is everything.
A business owner has a certain lifestyle that they've spent their whole life building. And my job is not selling cars. It's protecting the lifestyle, not only of that business owner, but his family and everything that emanates around that. Now, if that business owner has employees, then he feels the same responsibility to provide a place where those employees can build a lifestyle for their families and everything that emanates around their families. So the more employees you have, the bigger that component is, and you have to do a lot in the beginning to make sure that when the hits the fan, that they are protected and that place will still operate and their lifestyle's protected. And that's why, having a personal relationship makes all the difference in the world.
Let's talk about why the little bit of E&O insurance is important and how do they contact you for that?
Well, E&O, the difference between E&O and general liability is pretty simple. E&O is where your opinion becomes, somebody uses it and they in turn sue you because they've had some kind of financial loss in relation to that. You're kind of a unique character in that you've got this production company that has a lot of media exposure, as well as you talk to people about how they should grow their crops and what they should do and how to do it and what to use. And if they use those things and in turn they suffer a financial loss, that's where you need E&O. If you're just doing your own thing, you just need general liability. It's really that simple.
Let me ask you another question.
Sure.
Let's talk about workers' comp insurance.
Sure.
Purposes, reasons why not?
One of the biggest exposures, actually, between automobile coverage and cannabis product right now and workers' comp, because you're required to have it. If you don't have it, you become a workers' comp insurance company. And you're not a very intelligent one because you collect no premium and you have a claim. And you're responsible for everything a work comp carrier is responsible for, which can be significant. Workers' comp is a big exposure. And even if the claim is not legitimate, having a workers' comp policy in place will give you the defense to deal with that if it's not legitimate. It's a real important coverage.
And if you don't have it, you just lost your entire business.
You could easily lose your business.
If you're a new cannabis entrepreneur getting licensed in California, or even outside the state of California, what would like the next steps be?
Find somebody you trust. That's the number one step.
Yeah.
Don't go to the 1-800 Geico's, the Progressive Maids or the animated figures to protect your assets. That's ridiculous. Find somebody you trust. And that sense of trust should look like they're actually interested in all aspects of your business and they're willing to spend the time to walk through the process from the time you grow it or you receive it, whatever the case may be, to the time you sell it and all the steps in between. If you find somebody that'll walk you through that path and walk that path with you to figure out what your risks are, that's probably the guy that you can trust. Insurance agents and insurance in general doesn't do that as much as it used to. It used to be that way, but it's not that much anymore. Rule number one, never trust the insurance company. Rule number two, never let your guard down on rule number one.
So you're kind of like a drug dealer in a way, Chris. You're like a broker,
Correct.
right? Just like we've been brokering all this time.
Absolutely.
Right? You're going out and you're purchasing insurance, and you're the representative, and you're selling it to the client.
The distribution of insurance is no different than the distribution of cannabis or anything else. You have the manufacturer, that's the insurance company. That manufacturer chooses to either have direct people sell its product, like Farmers, State Farm, Allstate, or they choose to go to what's called the wholesale market and have them represent their products to independent agents. I'm an independent agent, and we then in turn represent that product to the end user. Or they decide that they want their sales force to be the insurance agent, and they have a direct line to that insurance agent. I just represent your position in where the insurance or manufacturers and what they're doing.
So from one broker to another, thank you.
Absolutely.
Premiums can be all over the place. Let's talk about, how does that apply to your rule?
Absolutely. So insurance companies, when they lower your premium, they also typically lower your coverage. And the one thing about companies is that they never take away stuff that doesn't happen and lower your premium. They take away stuff that does. And they have actuarials who figure all this out. So an insurance company who's going to sell you what looks to be the same product to the end user at $5,000 instead of $7,500 has taken away the things that happen and the claims that happen on a consistent basis in order to give you that reduced rate. But there is no way that sacrificing coverage for $2,500 or whatever the cost is makes sense when you're talking about the size of businesses that you guys startup operations are. It just doesn't make any sense at all.
So it's like when you tell me that we're going to renew our insurance, and all of a sudden you got a new renewal contract, and you have come to me in the past and said, look at all the stuff they've changed on this. We need to go back out to get quotes. Same thing as what you're saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, a normal insurance agent would just send you something. You think that you're getting the same insurance you did before. Your premium dropped a little bit, but the coverage is gone that you need. And now I'm extending my coverage by signing on the dotted line, and now I'm not covered for the things I need to. That's why it's important to have a friend and an insurance guy that's working on your behalf. What's one of the mistakes that you see happening with buyers in the industry?
Well, I can tell you the biggest one I see, and I've talked to a number of insurance companies and underwriters on this, is that they are buying the slip and fall liability policy that says they got $1 million coverage so that they can get their license, and then they're not buying the products coverage. And I can tell you that's like covering the egg but forgetting the goose that keeps laying them. Products is your biggest exposure to claim and to lawsuit and to losing everything, not only your company, but even personally what you built. And you don't want to do that. Why?
I don't want to do that.
Nope, I ain't letting you do that.
You're not letting me do that. We're located in Northern California. Is that restricting you from Northern California work, or how far do you go?
Well, we're licensed in all 50 states, so we can do cannabis anywhere. We can do any other business actually anywhere, so we're good to go. I know you're going to Hawaii soon, and maybe doing some business there. We can actually take care of that. I'm currently working on someone from Canada that wants to open up U.S. operations in the United States, and I'm working on coordinating that so that it makes sense and has a good degree of separation.
So Chris, it's funny how other insurance agents, they know our relationship and they know we've gone really deep for a long time, right? When they come in the room and they start handing me all their business cards and they're trying to, molest me, I would say, for work, I just have to say to you guys, save the printing, save the card. I'm not going anywhere. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Industry Insiders, where we bring you the best our industry has to offer.